What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to today's edition of Profits at Noon. We have opened up the room just a minute early, as we normally do, just to give everybody a chance to get in here and get settled before we kick things off. So welcome, Abe, Hal, and Kevin. It's great to see all of you. Jason.
Hello, everyone.
Hope everybody is having a great week thus far. Had a nice, long Memorial Day weekend. William, welcome. It's great to see you, sir. We're going to get started in just a minute here, guys and gals. If you're joining us over on the simulcast on YouTube, a quick shout out to you. If you would like to join us here in the Zoom sessions directly, check beneath the video in the description. There's a link that'll get you signed up. You can join us here in the VIP section, complete with bottle service. Awesome. So I know we typically have these sessions, and if you're new to these sessions, this is a good recap as well. We are typically live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, all at noon Eastern time. This week, obviously, with Memorial Day holiday, we were out Monday, so we got lots to catch you up on here today for our analysis and our levels to lock, and we will get started in just a sec here. I see For a Reason is back with us on YouTube. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice long weekend as well. It's great to see you here. Set, welcome. We have a nice crew coming together. Lots of familiar faces, some new ones. We love to see it. Awesome. Hi, Hal.
Hi, Hal.
Great. Well, let's get things fired up here. We're at noon Eastern on the hour, so welcome everyone to Ninjacators' new weekly live event called Profits at Noon. My name is Nate, co-hosting these sessions with our very own Richard Krugel, who is in the house here with me today. So the goal of these sessions is for us to go ahead and lay out what we're stalking, what we're looking for in the market, our levels to lock, as we call them, to give you actionable analysis that you can follow through with us. So we do, of course, encourage you to attend these follow-up sessions. We will be live again tomorrow at noon to close out the week. It's a great opportunity to get an update on our levels as far as where we think things are headed going into the weekend and into next week as well. So in addition to all the great live analysis you're going to see here today, again, we want to give you actionable levels that you can stalk along with us. So that's a lot to look forward to there. And then, of course, next week we will have some guests coming back into the house. We'll have some more live events to put on your radar. But for today, as mentioned, lots to catch up on. So Richard, sir, King Richard Krugel, if you will, take the reins for us, sir. Fire up today's session, and depending on how we're feeling, I may or may not, and this could be a threat or a promise, depending on how you view it, I may or may not circle back with a dad joke to close us out.
No, I was looking forward to that.
But of course, plenty of time for Q&A along the way, so feel free to fire away in the chat if anything's on your mind, and I'll be happy to ensure that's taken care of for you. And with that said, I will fade into the mist and let King Richard take the reins, sir.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Nate, and hello, everyone. Like Nate said, I hope you all had a fantastic, nice, long weekend. I sure did. I did do a little bit of work on Monday, but nothing too hectic. So yeah, it wasn't a public holiday here after all, but nice stepping away from the screens for a day or so. But anyway, before we do start today's session, just a quick reminder that today's session is provided for educational purposes only. It's not an offer or recommendation to trade futures, stocks, options, or Forex. All right. Straight back into things. Just going to get rid of that screen quickly. Can you guys see my screen all right? Because that green ring around it has now disappeared. I know we had issues last week. Nate, just let me know.
Yeah, no, it's looking great to me on this side, so I think we are
weird.
Free
it's
and clear.
Acting up here on this side. I got that green screen around it that's just disappeared now. But anyway,
okay, no, looks
like it's working. All right, all good. All right, everyone. I was toing and throwing in between whether this was still underway, this triangle, expanding triangle that we've been following. Remember, I labeled it as potentially finished. Yeah, around about the beginning of this month. I think it was the 4th May. We were also looking at this low, or right about that time, during a Profits at Noon session, and mentioning that could be expanding triangle. Price moved higher, broke above this previous high, and then pulled back strongly back to the inside again. And I think it was last week I mentioned that this whole thing could still probably be underway. I'm going to scrap that idea now. I'm going to stick with my original analysis and say, with probably a higher degree of confidence, you just get off screen here a little bit. I don't know, something's happening with my video. There we go. That this was that fourth wave end. Now, the only thing is here is that we didn't have a nice 5-wave sequence up here. It just looks like a 3-wave, immediately back again. And that's when I thought maybe this triangle is still on the way. And then, obviously, last week, ES will start following the strength in that the Nasdaq's been showing and made a new high again. But every single time it makes a new high, it pulls back. So you're not really having a nice sort of blast off like the NQs had. So this makes me think that if this is still a 5-wave sequence, which I still think it is, that's potentially not done yet. So i.e. that we could still see higher prices on the ES. Potentially, not potentially, but this is what we've been tracking for all those new to these sessions since around mid-March. We labeled this as a 1, a 2, a 3 expanding triangle 4 with that last final 5th wave. And I mean by 5th wave, just to complete this sequence. Not like it's going to result in one hell of a bearish move or something, but just potentially a deep retracement that could retrace a decent portion of this move that we've seen to the upside since mid-March. All right. Before I look at the NQ, you know, if you want to slope market geometry into the direction of what you could believe is, let's say, your 3rd wave or even corrections, in this case, a 5th wave, then I've done this a little bit earlier. I ran a, there we go, just going to find that low properly. A channel from this low to this previous low to those highs over here. And I don't know if you can actually see that, but you can already start seeing that there are angles here in this channel sloping to the upside that looks like price is respecting it really well. Look at these two highs over there. If I do that, you can see it reaches it properly. Okay. The other thing obviously I like to do is get my ray out, draw a line parallel to one of the channel lines. I do this with pitchfork sometimes as well. And look at this high over here. Perfectly meets that high. We had a sort of area where price found support at it a few times, support over here, and price has now moved back to the downside. If I copy and paste that same angle, and I've actually paste it to this low over here, or start from this low, support. We had an area where price, similar to what happened over here, find support there. So this tells me that this upward sloping move, and this is typically what happens during sort of a topping pattern. I'll just quickly go back to gold for you guys. For those who've been following my analysis for quite some time. This move that we've seen to the upside now, this has obviously changed because the contract date has changed. So these angles aren't 100% right. But so sort of a similar sort of upward slope that we're potentially seeing here in gold, that we've seen in gold, sorry, potentially could be happening here on the ES for that 5th wave. So I'm viewing this current decline here as potentially just corrective with potentially more upside potential. If this is, let's say, a 5th wave, then one has to ask the question, you know, maybe it was already a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but that can't be it because this broke below this low here. So I'm starting to think this could be some sort of an ending diagonal, perhaps. We have 5 3 waves moving up to this upside, potentially 1, 2, 3. That's your first one. Let's get another one out here. So it would be a 1, a 2, a 3. Oh, come on. Something like this again, and then a final 5th wave back up again. So it could be quite a while that price potentially could stay stuck in this channel, unless obviously, you know, we have seen one hell of a sell-off. But we've already seen price broke below today's S1 at 4,194, so open pretty much below today's pivot point of 4,218. We also have this projected range low, which is now currently at about 4,170.5. So I do think if price were to decline a little bit more, maybe today or tomorrow, that this sort of area here could be potential support. All right. So if price is going to follow this channel to the upside still, could still make it back to this low line over here, or the low channel line, but it could also find support like it has previously inside a body of the upper and lower line, like it did on previous occasions, potentially find support there. All right, so I'm going to be watching this, again, expecting that whatever this is just some incomplete 5th wave that could just make its way slowly back to the upside again at some stage. Right, that's the idea on the ES. Nasdaq, obviously, seen one heck of a strong move back to the upside. Remember last week, or was the week before, we mentioned whatever this was, well, not whatever it was a expanded flat correction, an A, B, C. C waves typically of an expanded flat are very strong in nature. Found supports almost here at the center median line of upward sloping pitchfork. For those that have been following my work for a while, or the analysis, will probably notice that I've used different anchor points here, going back a little bit further in history, around about mid-March, to these highs. When was it? Around the 3rd or the 4th of April, to this low. Where's that? Now, come on the 25th of April. And again, using a shift pitchfork, we can see that even on this pitchfork here, the median lines has been acting as resistance and support pretty well. Now, this recent high did not actually reach that upper red warning line. And again, if you've been watching my pitchfork analysis for some time, you quite often see these red warning lines, once they actually get reached, to act as very strong resistance or support, depending the direction the market's obviously moving in. You could see a reversal from there. So this decline that we're seeing here at the moment, I'm also viewing as corrective in nature. And we can also see that price here too has been below today's pivot point at 14,436.5. It just broke below today's S1 at, what is that, 14,305 for 3/4. But we've got S2 down here, which sort of falls in line with this upper median line. And quite often you'll see that when price, what we call, breaks or zooms a median line, you've got a very high degree or a chance that price will return to a median line. Let's just get that snap mode back off here. So this could be a retest of the potential area, which in this case could then act as support potentially again, whether that happens today, tomorrow, or this week, whatever, and then potentially see another move back to the upside. So treating this as corrective in nature. So like I said, price could potentially make it today to today's projected range low at 14,180, or that S2 at 14,203.25. But yeah, we'll obviously recap things tomorrow again. Obviously, these numbers or these levels will change, but this could definitely act as an area of support for the time being. So overall, still bullish on NQ. Don't think that this move is done yet to the upside, and whatever's happening here, just as could potentially just be a correction. All right. YM, on the other hand, this is a good example for what I meant by those red warning lines. When price missed it at a certain area, it pulled back all the way to that upper median line of the YM now, obviously. Now, this is what I'm thinking is happening here on the NQ. Found support, reached the upper red warning line, big sell-off, pipped that high, didn't make it, actually. So it was just a pip of that previous high and then a strong decline to the downside. Now, I've been saying since this high here towards the end of April that this was potentially corrective in nature, but obviously the YM being pretty weak, that's for sure. So last week price reached at 61.8 retracement, went a little bit below it at 32,683. It's acted as support, but look where price found resistance again. And this is why I also sometimes keep these market geometry lines on my charts, although price has broken the boundaries of them. So it pulled back to it, what we call potential kiss goodbye, found resistance, and has since been selling off again. So if price does not find support here, then obviously this correction that I'm assuming as a correction has not ended yet. So and also the other question was, if this is corrective in nature, then what is it? The other thing, I think we said this last week, to potentially seen an A, and this was a B, and that we're still seeing a C wave to the downside. Be very near to completion, or potentially has completed. So yeah, I'm a bit on the sidelines here with YM. Which way is it going? I thought this might have acted as, you know, a starting point for a next move back upwards, but it's been pretty weak. Again, same thing here on the YM. Price being below today's pivot point, 33,071. Broke below S1 at 32,914. And support might step in here at S2 at 32,764. And then we also have today's projected range low at 32,731. They probably line up with a 78.6 retrace, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, pretty close to it. So S2 might act as support, but again, it's pretty strong decline. This price might want to break and make another low and then find support. So we'll just have to wait and see where price is at when we resume tomorrow's episode or session, should I say. All right, Russell. Not much to say on the Russell. Like I've mentioned how many times before, it's an absolute mess. Stuck between a pretty large range, pretty volatile range, that is. So whether all of this is just some bottoming pattern, or I've even flaunted the idea that this could be some sort of a triangle, that could still be a possibility if you want to get rid of these. Yeah, let's do that anyway. That this might just be some very, I don't know, time-consuming triangle of some sort. Maybe being an A, a B, a C. If this doesn't find support where price and doesn't break below these lows that were set beginning of this month and it backs up again, then I would say we've probably got a high probability triangle that could result in another decline in the Russell. But then again, if price were to break now or later or this week or next week or whenever the case might be, above or below the upper or lower trend line, then that should give us a good idea if, you know, what the intermediate trend will be on a Russell. But again, very messy price action. Yeah, good luck trading that if you're trying to swing trade this. Maybe sell at the top of the range and buy at the bottom of the range, which some people would do. But yeah, very, very volatile indeed. Gold. So obviously switched to the August contract already. So my geometry on there is now all skewed up. But give me 1 second and I'll redraw that quickly. Same thing here on gold. Not same thing, I should say, but see, my number one is gone as well. I don't know where that is gone. But we've been counting or following a 5-wave sequence to the upside. And then we had this strong decline to the downside. I think done pretty well to sort of figure out if we're going to get a deeper decline. We also had a channel that was sloping to the upside here. I'll redraw that for tomorrow. And I was saying the price would break below that, then potentially going to see that deeper decline, which we did get. That being said, I don't think this whole decline is over yet. Potentially, I've seen the end of an A, potentially a B, and potentially another decline to the downside at the later stage, because I'm counting whatever's happened here now as a 5-wave sequence to the downside, i.e. a 1, a 2, a 3, and then I think it was last week we're saying that we potentially have an ABC at hand. That did sort of work out, and we had another sell-off to the downside. So this potentially be that last final 5th wave that we were looking at, and that might be over now, and we might see a decent retracement of this move to the downside. All right, but I'm going to treat whatever's happening here, if we do get a higher bounce, as corrective in nature, and that we might see another decline at a later stage. So once I'd redrawn all my geometry on here, I'll do that tomorrow before tomorrow's session. Then we potentially identify areas for you guys where I think resistance might step in. Should price continue higher, that is. All right. So on gold, price been above today's pivot point, 1,969. I had a bit of trouble getting through R1 at 1,989. And it's now pulling back a little bit. So I do think if this is start of a correction, that it's not over yet. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a decent retracement of this entire decline, if I'm correct about a 5-wave decline, the bigger picture sort of thing. We could potentially see a move to 38.2%, maybe even the 50%, maybe 61.8%. So I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I just have to redo all of that geometry and see if there's something lining up with some more confluence as to where price might be heading next. All right, and that brings me to crude oil. And crude oil's been selling off pretty hard. Same thing here. We've been tracking this move to the upside, mentioning that was potentially corrective in nature. Again, it was sort of same as gold last week, but although this was a much larger sort of an ABC, we're saying that the ABC could potentially end, maybe even make it to 61.8. It didn't have enough legs or strength, and we start seeing a decline again. So that might have been it. The end of a correction. It certainly does look like it. And even today, price has been selling down off pretty hard. So this was the end of correction. One would expect some sort of a 5-wave continuation to potentially break these lows that we set at the beginning of this month. All right, that being said, price has been below today's pivot point, 70.64. Found support, well, actually broke through support at 67.92, and find beautiful support here at today's projected range low at 67.24. So I'm still bearish on crude oil. I've been for a while. We just mentioned that we were dealing with a correction. You look at the bigger picture as things over here, or the view here, should I say, then crude oil might actually make it all the way to this lower median line over here, which is actually missed on 2 occasions previously. So I'm thinking that was the end of a correction, and that we might be heading lower to break this low with that very, very large wick. Right, so again, we'll recap things tomorrow on crude oil, on all the markets, obviously. I have to just redo that geometry on gold for you guys. So let's see if we can come up with some areas of potential resistance. I think if crude does move higher here, that today's pivot point, maybe even is projected a high deviation, which is right at that pivot point, might act as resistance unless price just continues low. It's been very, very, crude oil's been very, very weak, that is for sure. So little bit of an update. Not too much else to mention. I think I spent most of today's, I would say, analysis here on the ES. So if you want to go replicate this channel that I've drawn in here, then please do. It's basically just going from this low on the 4th of May to this low on the 24th to this high on the 19th. All right, just using those 3. And you can also go and draw in your rays like I have, if you want to, obviously, and just, see how price reacts to them. Quite often they act as support or resistance and are very important turning points. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. If you guys got any questions, then please let me know. I don't know if you got any already asked there, Nathan. Maybe on YouTube side, which I can't see.
All quiet on the Western Front as of this moment, but we do want to give you this opportunity, everybody who's here with us, whether you're in Zoom or YouTube, to fire away if you have anything on your mind, any questions about the sessions, today's analysis, our levels to lock. And you might also see, I just slipped into the chat there, if you have anything on your mind as far as a future tool spotlight. If you've joined us for prior sessions, we like to break out some of our bigger tool packages, some of our Pro Series and things like that. So that's something we very much enjoy doing here, and we do it on a regular basis. And so Richard is able to take those tool suites and unpack them, look under the hood, and kind of walk you through it. So whether you're just curious about a tool, or if you're a tool owner looking for tips to optimize the way you use it, of course we're very happy to take a look at that for you. So we'll have a tool spotlight on deck next week either way, but again, we want to give you this opportunity if there was anything on your mind, anything that you'd like to see more of. And of course, if something strikes you outside of these sessions, we do always mention our support team is always available to you, so you can reach out to our support, let them know that you have a request for Profits at Noon, and they'll get that over to us. Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have anything coming through just this moment.
Cool.
So we'll give everyone just a few more minutes here, and we do have some more time for today's session. Generally, we go for at least a half hour, depending on what else we've got going on. So if there's anything you'd like to see or to steer in this session, if there's something else we can pull up for you here or take a look at, we're also happy to do that. Well, in the interim, I do have a dad joke locked and loaded.
Great stuff.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, guys, any questions, please let me know. If not, all good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the analysis, Richard, actually, as always, for the insights. I was very curious to see where we would net out after that holiday and just to catch up. I've become somewhat dependent on these sessions just to kind of find my footing, particularly in the ES with that big rally late last week. But excellent stuff. So thank you, Richard, for being here. And thank you to everyone who has joined us as well. Hal's shooting over a thank you through the chat. Absolutely, Hal. So we'll go ahead and wrap up in just a minute here. I do want to remind you, if you were new to these sessions, we are live 3 days a week. So we'll be back tomorrow at noon Eastern for any final updates. And we're actually currently working on a very special guest. So that is happening behind the scenes right now. It's a familiar face a lot of you guys will know and love. So we're working to have a special, very special guest tomorrow for a very cool and interactive session. If you've been in any of our prior sessions where we'll have dueling analysis, as I like to call it, where we'll have two, distinctly unique or varying analysis methods that are arriving at the same conclusions, identifying the same levels that are complementing each other. So it's always great to unpack that. So we're working on something very special tomorrow. So just encourage you to come back noon Eastern. We'll be live to close out the week. Now, that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. And some of you, it may be your favorite part of the show. It could be your least favorite. And honestly, either reaction is appropriate. But before we wrap up here, this is a little tradition of ours. We like to share a terrible pun, or as it's known more colloquially, a dad joke. So, Richard, I'm going to put you in the spotlight here, and I'm going to fire this one at you. And I'll also make it available in the chat. So here we go. Richard, why shouldn't you trust atoms? I still need to work on that Jeopardy music.
No idea, to be honest.
Why shouldn't you trust atoms? So everybody, you'll hear it here first. Why shouldn't you trust atoms? It's because they make up everything. Atoms make up everything. Dear. I think what we'll also need to queue up in addition to the Jeopardy music is some sort of womp womp.
Yeah. Get some sound effects going on that side.
Like a couple of radio DJs. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your time. We always value having you here with us. As mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow. Very special guest in the works tomorrow at noon Eastern time. So I hope to see you all there. If you have any questions or any requests that come to mind outside of this session, just one last reminder, you can contact our support team. There is a handy contact form on the website, and there is also a phone number plastered all over the place. So you can give us a call, shoot us an email. We are, of course, always here, always happy to help and to discuss and to give you these feature requests and such here on this show. So thanks so much. Yes, Hal, you have a great rest of your day as well. We hope to see you tomorrow. And then, of course, we hope everyone is going to have a great weekend too. But one more round of updates and then we'll be there. So thank you so much, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow. So have a great time in the interim. And Richard, any parting wisdom as we log off?
Not too much. Just, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow, recap things, go through the analysis again.
Perfect.
Can't believe this week's then almost over again. So, just take care of yourselves, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you again, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow for our last Profits at Noon of the week at noon Eastern time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers. Bye-bye.